everybody, it's Paige Evans. Thanks so much for joining me today. I get asked a lot how to back a cut file, and so I am going to focus on backing this summer wreath cut file, which is available for free in my Happy Scrappy Place Facebook group, which I will leave a link to below. So I started by die cutting the summer wreath from American Crafts white textured cardstock and carefully peeled it off the mat. It's quite an intricate design, so just take your time peeling it off so that it doesn't rip or tear. I grabbed another sheet of white textured American Crafts cardstock, and I am pooling water in a circle on the background. The more water, the better. I didn't add gesso or anything to it first, because I like the effect that this technique creates without the gesso. And then I'm using my favorite watercolors by Prima. These are called Pastel Dreams. And I am dropping, dabbing, splashing the watercolors into the pools of water, and they blend together, they mix together, and once it dries, it looks really cool because it just sits there and air dries. So don't speed it up with a hair dryer, just let it sit. This took about 2 hours to dry completely, and I'm trying to create colors to match my new collection with pink Paislee called Truly Grateful, which is a pretty fall themed line. There's a lot of leaves, acorns, earthy tones, but I'm going to show how you can use even a fall themed collection to create a super summery layout. So that's kind of fun, just based on colors. You can create lots and lots of different possibilities for layouts. So again, continuing to drop watercolors into the pool of water in the round wreath shape, and then I'm going to start backing the cut file. So now I'm going to show you 3 different techniques for backing a cut file. Save those inner pieces from the cut file on the sticky mat, and then you're going to use those as templates to trace. So I grabbed this heart-shaped sunglasses, and on the piece of pattern paper that you want showing, trace that inner piece, so textured side up, onto the pattern that you want showing. Use a pencil, trace around it, and then use a pair of fine-tipped scissors and cut it out, but you want to cut it out just a little bit bigger than what you traced. And it just depends on how thick your cut file is, how much you want to cut out around it, the excess, but I'm doing just like an 1/8 of an inch, cutting it bigger, cutting it out a little bit bigger. And then use an eraser and erase the pencil lines, because there's a possibility that the pencil lines could show because you cut it out on the side that you want showing. And then I like to use liquid adhesive, flip the cut file over to the back side, apply the liquid adhesive around the shape that you just cut, and then back the cut file with that piece of pattern paper. Flip it over and ta-da! You've got one shape done. Here's another option for backing a cut file. I've grabbed another piece from the sticky mat, the inner shape, and I'm going to use this mint square. I want the mint side showing, and I'm going to flip it over both pieces. So I flipped the pattern paper over to the back side, and I flipped the cut file over to the back side, tracing it, and then once again cut it out, leaving a little bit of a border. But since I've traced on the back side, there's no possibility of the pencil lines showing, and so you don't need to erase the pencil marks. Flip the cut file over, add liquid adhesive, and again back the cut file with your pattern paper. Alright, so that's another technique, is flipping it over onto the back side and tracing, so you don't have to erase. The last option, which is probably the fastest, is to just place the inner piece on top of the pattern that you want and roughly cut it out a little bit larger with a pair of fine-tipped scissors. And you don't need to be exact when cutting these things out because you will never see the backside. So I'm just cutting out this swimming suit a little bit larger on the front side because that's the pattern I want showing, adding liquid adhesive to the back and placing the pattern paper on the back side with the floral side up. So there's 3 different ways to back a cut file. You can also have your cameo cut out the inner pieces, but that's a lot easier to do when there's not so many different sized shapes, and I have tutorials for how to do that, which I can leave links to below. So I wanted to use a rainbow of colors, and then I'm using 3 different pattern papers from Truly Grateful, and I decided to save myself some time and cut all of the sections of colors and patterns into their individual pieces and then arranged them into rainbow order. So I put all the red patterns together, all the orange patterns together, etc. So I was able to pick and choose the colors and patterns for backing a lot easier. Here I'm going to show you very quickly how I backed this umbrella. There are 7 different sections for the umbrella, so I pulled seven different patterns of the darker blue color, and I'm grabbing the pieces one at a time from the sticky mat. And this is, again, my favorite technique to back a cut file, is just placing the inner piece on the pattern paper and cutting it out just slightly larger. And I added adhesive liquid glue to the back of the entire umbrella and just dabbing those pieces into the liquid glue once I finished cutting it out. And I think it only took about an hour to back this entire cut file. The back side doesn't look so pretty, but nobody is ever going to see the back side, so it really doesn't matter a whole lot that it looks crazy on the back, but it looks beautiful on the front. So quickly, back to the umbrella. You can flip it over and see what it looks like. And here I go, finishing it up, placing the last piece on this beach ball. So ta-da, there is the backed cut file. I hope you have figured out a couple of different ways to back cut files and you're inspired to do so. And we're going to continue working on the layout. So I decided I needed some darker blue on my watercolored circle, and so I went ahead and added some more dark blue from the tropical colors of watercolors by Prima. Then to create dimension, so instead of just adhering the wreath right onto the layout, I'm using these teeny tiny 3D foam squares and place them all around the wreath, and then taking the time to peel off the backs, the protective layer, and then placing it on the watercolored wreath. So we're gonna continue from here working on the layout. I've printed 2 3x4-inch photos of my daughter Jane. These were taken just last week at our family reunion in Idaho, and we went to a lake and there was nobody else there, so it was like our own private beach. It was super fun, and Jane loves posing for me. She's always asking me to take her picture. I will take that for as long as I can get. I've decided to overlap the photos on this bottom left side, and then I'm going to start embellishing. So I'm using these enamel hearts from Truly Grateful. It comes in a package with sequins and wood veneer shapes, and I placed the hearts tone on tone around the summer wreath. And now I'm using the thickers from the Truly Grateful collection and tucking them under the top, and on this bottom side it's going to be Sunshine Summer. I love these stickers. They are foam with a cardstock top in lots of different colors, so they will match the collection perfectly. And then going to write my journaling on this right section. So I'm using a ruler first to draw my lines to make sure that's where I want the journaling. I often change my mind about where I want the journaling, so I always like to write the lines with a pencil first. And I'm going to go ahead and write my journaling with a blue pen and write over those lines, draw over those pencil lines. I also added a stamp, die cut, and a Shine Bright sticker. And then I thought about adding an epoxy word. It says play, but I thought it just kind of stood out too much. I didn't want that to be too noticeable. And so I thought about using a different word that says, let's see, what does it say? Yes. But again, I don't know, it wasn't my jam, and that's okay. So in the end, I went with these white puffy stickers, this sticker word that says story. Liked how that looked, it's kind of subtle, and I machine stitched over it, and that's it. This layout is done. So I hope you have learned some new techniques about how to back a cut file. There's several different ways to go about it, and whatever floats your boat, whatever works best for you, that is a great way to go about it. I love backing cut files so much, and be sure to grab this cut file in my Happy Scrappy Place Facebook group, link below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon.